Guys, how is your Sunday? I hope you spend your day well, or if it's night for you in your destination or whatever time it is, I hope you're fine. I love you guys for your support, and I'm really struggling here and there to see whether my target of the year will be attained. We are almost coming at the end of the year, and therefore we are looking at our targets, what we've done, what we've failed, and planning on what to do. Now, today there is something that really irritated me on seeing the child, or rather a student who died in a fight. Yeah, and so this incident happens just when KCC is going on, and it's a saddening one, I know, for parents, for the school, and everybody else. Yeah, from the information we've acquired, it is indicated that the boy, or rather the student who stabbed the other, one of them, of course, on Saturday night, ran away. Now, many people are asking how a knife was sneaked in. I don't know. For those of you who have been teachers, you can understand how naughty the current students have become. Sometimes it's very difficult. You check everything and literally you can't see the illegals, but surprisingly you find they are there. It's like they have some a way of doing things. And you remember, was it last year when a teacher was hit by a student, yeah, on being strict on duty, and he died. So, of course, you have a right to ask questions, but it's important we also check on our children as parents, because the world is not very welcoming. We've seen so many cases of homicide and even the death of many other men and everybody else. So it's not about just blaming teachers and asking how a knife got into school. Of course, teachers have the role to ensure that students are safe, but students also have that duty. So I'm talking to you students, to you parents, to the society at large. What exactly are you doing even over the holiday as you're spending with your child, as you're spending with your parents or peers at home? Some of these habits are picked either from the media or elsewhere. Now, of course, when you look at this case, students had a difference over personal items. Of course, we don't know whether it's food. We don't know whether it is things to do with the personal use items. And then it led to a fight at almost 8 p.m. And others, of course, intervened, but it led to the stabbing. Now, the Gilgil Sub-County Police Commander, Winston Mwakio, indicates that the students had been suspended. So, of course, when you look at this, these students, of course, have, infectious and persistent behavior. And even though students, sometimes they are cancelled, teachers try to stand them. Some parents even come to schools lying about their kids, like on transfer. They would lie that a child is transferring from a different school to another as a result of, they'll quote. So for many cases, as I've told you, when we see parents coming to seek position or opportunity for their kids, they lie a lot. You may find that even a child has mental situations and parents don't reveal. Some of them have special situations like special needs, and they need to be in a special school, but parents don't reveal it. So you as a teacher, with time, you realize these students cannot even write their name, they cannot read, they cannot do anything. And therefore, of course, you realize this one was a special case, was supposed to be in a special school, but they have brought in a regular school. There are also situations where you find a child who has consistent behavior on like drug addiction or something. There is a time I taught in Coast in one of the schools, and a student came from a different school, about Form 3. That student, I swear, every teacher rejected teaching that class because the student would not sit without drugs. He would go to the toilet every break time and take some bang or something, and when he comes to class, he's just staring. So teachers decided for us to save this situation, we just have to reject going to that class. If you look at the other situations, we have girls who are lesbians currently and boys who are gay, and there are situations such as students who are demonic. Maybe their parents recruited them into these groups, the sects. And of course, they'll come and become very infectious. Such students are very notorious, and they infect. In a very short period within a school, they'll infect and cause a lot of disturbance. And parents, of course, know, but they are sticking to having their kids in school, and they'll lie about why they transferred. They'll even, and of course, the schools they come from don't want to, not reveal this because there are ministerial aspects and all that. Now, going back to our case of SHINNERS, you realize that this, the one student who stabbed the other is on the run with the knife. Now, people are asking how the knife came in. Do you know that the student is indicated to have been out of school? That is on suspension. We are not told particularly what the student did, but this one is clearly showing an aspect of indiscipline. And of course, the three accomplices who worked along, if you can accept to collude and cause death, then there is something wrong somewhere. And it's not about the schools or teachers. It's about the students, the society, and maybe parents. What are parents doing? You as a parent, during these 2 months, as you're staying with your child at home, what restrictions, what rules, what demands are you putting on your child so that violence is not performed by your child, so that your child knows boundaries. They know what to do that is right or wrong. They understand how to control their emotions. So first, I would wish we talk about how to help our children. So if you are a friend to psychology, and I would urge most parents to be friends to psychology, don't just watch news and spend your day then think that is enough. Now, when you look at psychology, we have so many factors that affect behavior. And of course, young people, we have individual factors. These individual factors include risks, the conduct disorder, if you know about it, hyperactivity. We have things to do with attention deficit, low commitment to school, unemployment, and involvement in crime, as well as low intelligence. Yeah, so when you look at the factors I've mentioned, for example, when a child has attention deficit, we know very well that they do not want to focus for long. And what they do is they divert attention to other things. They'll become violent, they run around, they want to do what you stop them from. But there are ways of managing this through specialists and all that. And of course, this child should not be in a regular school. They should be in a special needs school where we have experts who know how to handle that. The teachers in the regular school have little knowledge about special needs, very little, just collected maybe from personal level. Now, when you look at conduct disorder, this might be out of bringing, it might be out of the environment where the child grows, or in homes and even media. So if a child has consistent conduct behavior that is negative, of course they'll misbehave wherever they go. And therefore, it is the role of the parent first to work before you can send to the teachers. And then if they don't shape up, then the world will teach them a lesson, which I don't know when graduation will be. Now, the next thing is low intelligence. Of course, low intelligence comes with so many other factors. Inheritance, it can be out of a specific situation that affected the brain and all that. And so if a child has that, they tend to be violent. Low commitment. If a child is not committed to school, of course, they'll be delinquent and they'll focus on other things. Unemployment may be from the perspective of the parents, and it causes a lot of irresponsibility or not providing enough. So this child, of course, can be violent so as to source or so many other things. General involvement in crime, I think we understand, out of environment, peer pressure, and all that. The next factors that we should look at as parents is family factors. If a family is violent, or there is dysfunction, or parenting styles that are not suitable, maybe parents who consistently use violence, or you realize the father and mother, they're always fighting, and so the child grows up thinking that fights are the only way to solve disputes. Maybe in a family we have a serial aspect of violence. We have heard of parents men who have killed wives or wives who have killed husbands. In such situations, of course, what do you expect of a child? Then we have social factors, which we as parents, before we send them to school, and then later on now, the parents, the teachers as parents, and then the society at large. We have social leaders like in church and all that. So we have to consider if the family has a low socioeconomic status, they are struggling to meet their ends, yeah, or there is poverty at large. Of course, Kenya, we have a great problem in this, because if you talk of Wanjikus, that is the largest population. Even those who have small jobs like teachers, nurses, they are not satisfying their ends. And so what about those who are at the very low end? So poverty is one of the situations that can really affect the society by creating violence, single parenting, and marital breakups. Okay, so let's also look at substance use. If there is substance use, drug and substance use. When people are abusing alcohol or any other drugs or tobacco, they tend to be violent. Of course, we understand how this happens. We've learned about drug abuse. If not, we need to explore this, because it indeed causes a lot of violence. So maybe the kids themselves would be violent as a result of having abused drugs. And so it makes them tend to be emotional and all that. We have trauma. People who have been affected by war or bullying or sexual abuse, they tend to have this something in their mind that tells them to be violent. Then we have media. Many parents are carelessly letting their children use phones, computers, without controlling or being present. And what are they watching? Maybe the kind of videos they're watching can be violent, and therefore that will make them violent too. We have genetic factors. Maybe if the family is that bound to be violent, then a child will automatically be violent. We have brain damage. Of course, this is out of head injury that sometimes causes mental it causes mental illnesses, and such situations obviously will cause an individual will be very violent. So as parents, what is our duty? We need to monitor and find out and shape our children from the beginning, so that they avoid violence or know how to control their emotions and what to use. Back to the question many of you are asking, how the knife found itself in school. Now, you realize that when people are violent or they're in crime, or like this student had been suspended, you don't know on what measures. So most children carry knives for because they feel it will make them more powerful. Some of them use them just for their own purposes. Sometimes they sneak things into the school and use the knives for. Some of them, of course, they have the knives for protection purposes because they are scared. Maybe they have been victims of bullying for long. Now, of course, a school has a role to guide and check sometimes. But as I've told you from experience, from the many schools I've taught, it is very hard to actually have a 0% of such situations coming up. Yeah. As far as teachers have to do it, sometimes they're overwhelmed because of the population. Sometimes we don't have resources to check, because physical checks, I can swear. Currently, I'm in a school whereby we are about 70 teachers, but the students are about 400 in each class. So when we conduct searches, you think you are doing the best, but you realize students are sneaking things around and hiding them. And sometimes we have non-teaching staff who help them. And even in some few cases, some teachers would do so. Now, we cannot continue complaining and just let it be. We have to get a solution. Now, how do we keep children safe? Yeah. Now, we can only keep children safe by raising awareness and building trust making them understand that they have to do the right thing and that it's their responsibility to have a positive impact on others and themselves. And so maybe making them understand the dangers of having knives in school, fighting, and making them also, if they have grown up in situations of such what I've mentioned, then you make them understand they can be different. I think the church also has a great role. When schools close, I think churches should come up with very many initiatives like guiding and counseling, among many others, to make these children busy so that they are not just engaging so much on media, because some parents are too busy, they are even away. They leave houses to their kids the whole day, and whatever goes on, you can't imagine. It's beyond just watching. There's so much that goes on. And the aspect of also living on plots, rental houses, I think has a great impact. I grew up in a home, and when I compared living on in rental houses, you meet different people around. The space is too limited. Kids have a challenge with play, and so they interact with anybody, and sometimes they begin to assimilate themselves into such behaviors. The other thing is that the society has changed a lot. Even though I'm not that old, but I remember when I was a kid, somehow the society would reveal about where you are, what you're doing to your parents, and they control you. They were concerned. Currently, it's even hard. Even if you teach a student at school, once they step out of the gate, you have no business poking your nose into their affairs. Yeah, literally, because maybe their parents allowed them into what they are doing. Of course, they left home and someone was there. So what right do you have to question? You find that adults within the society, you find border, sometimes even the police, some teachers and all that. I am not specifically targeting a given group. But you find that when these students are out there, these people have fun, and they have found girlfriends and all that. They have found boyfriends. Even old women are going for these young boys, and they have customers for their businesses, brothels, drug places, and any other. Mention them, name them. So when you look at these situations, what happens? Our society has become a rot because people are selfish, egocentric, and another thing is that some parents let their children do what they want. So you can't even intervene in the life of a child, of a neighbor, or a relative. So such an open society creates room for what we are seeing as what happened in SHINNERS school. Now, another thing is that crime is on the verge. High rates of crime. We've seen a lot of homicide cases, violence and all that. Now, what do you expect? If every day we see people rioting, fighting, killing each other, abductions going on and all that, then what do you expect? Of course, what you plant is what you harvest. So it is about all of us also. Because out there, if we are doing the wrong, then we don't expect the children to do what's right. These students are not in a vacuum. They are existing in our society, and as literature tells us, what we do is what we see, not what we are told. So many of them are trying just to copy what is happening around them and do it. Now, when you come to the aspect of managing student fights, I had one of the parents, and I think you can see below, indicating that it is important that teachers keep the children safe, and when they leave, let the vehicles come for them. Okay, so when you talk about preventing and preparing students so that they work against fights in schools, one of the things that we should learn is to take an all-in approach. Yeah, engaging all staff in training and awareness about preventing and responding to student fights. Now, how does it not work? It doesn't work because our system is meant in a way that it's lesson after lesson. Even if we have PE, we have those breaks. Teachers are so busy because you have social aspects, economic. You are fighting a lot with economic aspects, and you have so much. So what time do you have for this engagement or practice? It's very hard. I hope the curriculum founders should find something to slot in, because they talk about guiding and counseling, but they expect that maybe guiding and counseling will happen from 4 to 5 or something, which is sometimes impossible, because this teacher is also preparing for home and other many aspects. You are trying to write, you are trying to do many other things. So unless it is just scheduled between 8 and 4, it becomes very complex to think that such an approach will work. The other thing is engaging students to identify strategies of reducing and preventing fights. Again, you see this one goes back to time. Where is this time? So that we can source for information of how to handle conflicts. This is why I now blame the society again, because out there we are seeing how people are handling conflicts. Like even our president ran into an impeachment. We see Gen Z on the streets. We have seen politicians fighting. So then, what about the youth? They'll handle the conflict in a similar way. Okay, another strategy would be that the school board has policies and procedures of stating about whether staff must physically intervene in fights or not, which rarely happens. We know the board just comes, they discuss maybe matters that they think are important and let others be. They leave them to the teachers and blame teachers and make demands like tell you about results. They never care about student conduct, and they don't even care about what problems you're going through. And even if you share them, they would say, do some magic. So it becomes very difficult. And I hope that the school board should have more than just coming, having special meetings, special meals, and then going away. If they would think about policies that trickle down to the students, then that would be better. The other thing is an option telling us that the staff should be assigned to non-hotspots in the building. I don't know who the staff are here, because when you come to a school, again, we have the teaching staff whose role is to teach and maybe examine, then give feedback. We have the non-teaching. Most of them are allocated maybe at the gate to see who comes in and walks out and then sign books and do that. Then we have the staffs in the kitchen preparing meals. We have those who are on the grounds making sure it is clean and what have you. So who are these staff? And I don't know whether schools have potential to just have the safety leaders or such people to have duty assignments on checking places and also guarding students and ensuring that if fights come up, then they can control. Another thing is that during passing periods, the staff should be in the hallways or visible places. And now look at this, it happened almost at 8. I don't know, because in most schools students sleep at 9. I don't know why it happened at 8, whether it's class or not. I'm not sure about that. But then this one is a hurdle again, because now the positions or places for students are known. The places for teachers are known. Now, especially at night, again, in a school, of course, the only person who is supposed to be there, they are the guards and the principal, and maybe the matron. The rest of the teachers should not be in, according to the TSC policy. Now, even if you would be in, would you be standing at the hallway or a visible place all the while or around classes? This is time when students are supposed to be conducting their preps. Yeah. Now, this goes back to training, that if you look at the situation of Africa, maybe particularly in Kenya where I am, nobody cares about whether you are trained in how to handle fights. And if anything happens and you die in the process, nobody will be sorry about it, because, of course, they know your role is to teach, and they'll be asking questions where you went. What is important generally is that we must know that we have changes according to times, and therefore new plans have to be made, new policies. But parents, you have a great role here than anyone else. So I hope I've shared enough. It may not be conclusive, and I hope that it will help us wherever we are as students, parents, teachers, or even administration. Yeah, so stay tuned to the channel and consider subscribing. Thank you.